Hello dear students, in the last lecture we have discussed about the income elasticity of demand. Then we have also discussed about the difference between point and arc income elasticity of demand. And we have calculated the numerical value of the income elasticity of demand. In this lecture we are going to discuss the topic which is cross price elasticity of demand. As we know that the demand for a commodity also depends on the price of related goods. The price of related goods. The demand for a commodity is also dependent on the price of related goods. By related goods we means two things. One is substituted goods or substitutes. Number second is complementary goods. So in this lecture we will be discussing that how substitute goods as well as complementary goods affect the consumption pattern of the consumer. How if the price changes in any of the substitute goods, how it will affect the alternative substitute goods, how it will affect the demand for that particular product. So cross price elasticity of demand is very important in order to measure the responsiveness of a change in quantity demanded of one good due to a change in the price of another good. For example, in the case of substitutes, we have tea and coffee. These are substitute goods. If coffee price increases, its own demand will be decreased, but demand will be increased for tea. Look at this case. If price increases of coffee, its own demand will be decreased, but demand will be increased for tea because tea is a close substitute for coffee in the market. So demand for tea is increased not because of its own price, but because of the increase in the price of its rival product, its close substitute. So the consumer shifts their demand from coffee towards the use of tea. So this was the case of a substitute goods. Now look at the case of a complementary goods. For example, sugar and coffee. Sugar is a complementary good for coffee. If the price of sugar rises, for example, price increases of sugar, it means that demand will be decreased for sugar. This product own demand will be decreased, but the demand for coffee will be declined as well, but demand of coffee will be decreased as well because both are the complementary goods. That's why the demand curve will shift towards the left. It means that less coffee will be demanded at a given price level. So we can measure the responsiveness in the demand for commodity X to a change in the price of commodity Y with the help of price elasticity of demand. So the cross price elasticity of demand measures the responsiveness of a change in quantity demanded of commodity Y due to the change in price of commodity X. It measures the responsiveness it measures the responsiveness of the quantity demanded of a good X of the quantity demanded of a good X. Suppose this is one good. It measures the responsiveness of the quantity demanded of a good X to a change in the price of another good. To a change in the price of another good, which is Y. So the concept of cross price elasticity of demand measures the responsiveness of the quantity demanded of a good X to a change in the price of another good, which is Y. That is, it means that how change in price of Y affect change in quantity demanded for commodity X. This is the whole crux of the concept, that how change in price of commodity Y affects the change in quantity demanded of commodity X. For the measurement of this change, we use the concept of cross price elasticity of demand. So the formula which we use to measure the cross price elasticity of demand is E XY. X is the first commodity, Y is the second commodity. So XY means we have two commodities. Change into Q of X divided by Q of X whole divided by change into price of Y divided by price of Y. This is the basic formula. We can write it as change into quantity of X divided by Q of X multiply Py divided by change into Py. We can also write it as change into quantity of X divided by change into price of Y multiply price of Y divided by Q of X. This is the formula which we use for the measurement of cross price elasticity of demand. Change into Q of X, it means Q of X1 minus Q of X2 minus Q of X1. Change into price of Y, Py1 minus Py2. This is the original price of commodity Y and this is the original quantity demanded of commodity X. Py2 minus Py1. Py2 is the new price, this is the old price or original price, this is the new quantity demanded and this is the old quantity demanded. If if we calculate the value of cross price elasticity of demand and this value is positive, it is greater than 0. If the value of cross price elasticity of demand is greater than 0, it means that if it is positive, it means that commodities X and Y are substitutes. If this value is positive, if the calculated numerical value of the cross price elasticity of demand is greater than 0, it means that commodities X and Y under discussion are substitutes. They are substitutes because increase in price of Y leads to an increase in quantity of X. That is, increase in price of Y leads to an increase in quantity demanded of X, as was the case in tea and coffee. So, for example, coffee and tea, Coca-Cola and Pepsi, for such kind of commodities, the cross price elasticity of demand will always be greater than 0. If, on the other hand, if this value is less than 0, it means that commodities X and Y are complementary. If the calculated value of the cross price elasticity of demand is less than 0, it means that the commodities X and Y under discussion are complementary in nature. They are complements to each other. So, increase in the price of Y, that is, increase in the price of Y leads to reduction in Q X and Y. Q X and Q Y both will be reduced. It means that price of Y, so Q Y on its own consumption as well as the rival consumption, both will be decreased. That is why the answer will be negative. However, the absolute value of the cross price elasticity of demand, I mean this value, ignoring the sign, the absolute value of the cross price elasticity of demand measures the degree of substitutability and complementarity between the two. This value will show us the degree or extent of substitutability and complementarity between X and Y, irrespective of the sign. That is why I am saying that the absolute value of the cross price elasticity of demand, it measures the degree of substitutability and complementarity between two products, between two variables, between two inputs. If this value is close to 0, in this case it was positive, in the second case it was negative, but if EXY close to 0, if the value of the cross price elasticity of demand between two products, between two items is close to 0, it means that X and Y are independent. That is, it means that X and Y are independent goods. If this value is close to 0, are 0, it means that both the commodities are independent. For example, cars and potatoes, both are irrelevant goods. Similarly, pencils and potatoes, car and candies, books and beer. So all these kinds of commodities are the example of independent or irrelevant goods. That's why the calculated value of the cross price elasticity of demand will be close to 0 or will be 0. However, the cross price elasticity of demand is very important concept in managerial decision making. Firms often use this concept to measure the effect of changing in price of a product they sell on the demand of other related products that the firm also sells. So for example, if a firm is interested to sell one product and he is going to change the price of the product, he will also take care of the substitute good that he is selling as well. For example, the manufacturer of both razors and razor blades. Razor and razor blades. This is the case of complementary goods. For example, this is commodity X, this is commodity Y. So the manufacturer of both razor and razor blades can use cross price elasticity of demand to measure the increase in the demand for razor blades that would result if the firm reduced the price of razor. For example, if the manufacturer wants to decrease the price of razor, if the manufacturer wants to decrease the price of razor, how it will affect the demand, the quantity demanded of razor blade. How the quantity demanded of razor blade will be affected. In order to measure the responsiveness of this change in quantity demanded of razor blade due to the change in the price of razor, the manufacturer of this industry will use the concept of the cross price elasticity of demand. So that's why the cross price elasticity of demand is also a very important concept in managerial decision making. So if the managerial economist, or if the firm, or if an organization takes a decision regarding the price of a product within the industry or within the firm, he will also take the rival commodities in his mind, that how the price effect will change the complementary commodities, the demand for complementary commodities, or how the price change will affect the substitute commodities in question. That's why we are saying that the cross price elasticity of demand is very important for managerial decision making. It is hoped that now you have a clear idea about the price elasticity of demand, about the income elasticity of demand, as well as about the cross price elasticity of demand, and also how these concepts are very useful, in managerial decision making. If still you have some question, if still you don't understand anything about these major concepts, you can ask me. Thank you so much.